Hello and welcome to another episode. In the previous episode, we ran through the entire history of the FTX situation. To summarize, Sam Bankman-Fried founded a cryptocurrency hedge fund and exchange worth $37 billion. It received investments from major players like BlackRock and celebrity endorsements, but in the end, it turned out to be somewhat of a Ponzi scheme. Last time we left off, Sam was under police surveillance in the Bahamas and was still tweeting about making it up to customers. Today, we'll cover some major updates since then, from leaked messages to criminal investigations, as well as some inside information. Investors and customers lost billions in the disaster. Fusion TV music information about the entire scope of the company's problem after the initial shock of the bankruptcy, and the crazy story leading up to it had subsided. FTX's new CEO, John Ray, all carefully examined their books. What he discovered was unbelievable. It was just a chaotic situation. He made a fake mess of his report. John would say that in his 40 years of experience, he has never seen such a total failure of corporate controls, such a complete lack of reliable financial information, and such a concentration of power in the hands of a very small number of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised people. This circumstance is unprecedented, and that is actually saying something given John sorted through the bankruptcy of Enron in 2001. So one of the issues at John Ray, according to the new CEO, is how to keep track of these assets, whether they are in the Bahamas or the United States, and who has the authority to really oversee those. This goes back to they're currently attempting to unravel this web that has been created by the early days of FTX, the mismanagement that John Ray has highlighted, and the fact that no one really knows where the assets are at this point. Hold on to your seats, because FTX didn't even know how much cash it had on hand and how many people it could affect. So, what exactly made it so bad? Even worked for the company. Here are some highlights from the 30-page report. 1. Workers would make payment requests via chat, and any boss would decide whether to approve or deny the reimbursements by using an emoji. Sam received a $1 billion personal loan from Alameda Research, and the Wall Street, some significant investors provided $450 million to Journal FTX. Sam claimed that while this was meant to expand the company and enable them to interact with regulators more, in actuality, $300 million of that money was diverted to Sam Lovely. Number 3, and very few records were kept, with the majority of decisions being made via chat with Sam. After a specified amount of time, the messages are removed automatically. The management of FTX, a $32 billion company, had no idea how much cash was available at any given time, or even where all of the cash was. Number 5. FTX never held board meetings, and neither did the majority of their subsidiaries. Number 6. FTX did not maintain proper without sufficient documentation of how they spent their time. Some employees can't be traced because their employment records show that contractors, employees, and independent contractors worked together at various organizations. 7th, staff and executives utilized business monies to buy personal real estate, and sources further claim that they registered the properties in their own names. Sam's parents and senior executives spent $300 million on luxury properties in the Bahamas over the course of the last 2 years, according to news reports. These purchases included a number of FTX's Bahamas-based luxury properties. What's worse is that Sam only recently claimed that FTX held $5.5 billion in alternative, less liquid cryptocurrency. Tokens apart from the financial sector being driven by a mania from low interest rates and cheap money, one major question still remains as to how so many of the smartest people fell for this. According to Fortune, Sam would send investors a document that was too good to pass up. The real value was only $659,000 at this point. The spreadsheet gave the impression that FTX was a rapidly expanding company with strong financials, going from $15 million in revenue in 2019 when it was founded to over $1 billion in 2021. In reality, these were sales documents with no true accounting in the end, and it didn't mention Alameda. Didn't matter because, as it turned out in the most recent FTX case, investors were drooling over the dollar signs and wanted a piece of the action. Shaquille O'Neal and Tom Brady are being flown by the celebrity promoters following the weekend revelation that the cryptocurrency exchange owes its 50 largest creditors more than $3 billion in class action lawsuits against FTX. Are just a few of the famous people. Under fire, a lawsuit brought by Adam Moskowitz contends that the FTX business's fraudulent platform was in fact a house of cards. A Ponzi scheme in which the FTX firms transferred consumer monies amongst their covert affiliated companies with the use of fresh investor funds received through investments, and it goes on to say that FTX uses some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment to raise money and persuade American consumers to invest in the Ponzi scheme. We covered this topic in more detail in the Cold Fusion podcast called Through the Web, so check it out if you haven't. Otherwise, I'll leave it at that. That's all for today, and I believe that's where I'm going to leave the story. If any other major news breaks and you guys want to know about it, I could make another episode nonetheless.